Mike.
What's going on, young man?
No, I'm gonna sit right behind you.
Yeah.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Beard? Yes. Blade? Yes. Sherman? Yes. Clayton?
Yes.
Kaye? Holcomb?
Okay, does anybody have a comment at this time? Seeing none, have any guests would like to speak at this time? If not, we will get into the discussion of the ambulance service. This is a special board meeting, trying to get some of this hashed out about the ambulance service. I would like to say that first, I'd like to start the conversation myself. Up until September 1st, we had 3 crews in Cumberland County, Neoga, Toledo, and Greenup. Each one had a ambulance crew. Well, Toledo ambulance went down, so now we're down to 2 crews. And I know we're subsidizing Greenup at this time, and so we still don't have 2 crews. And I feel like that, we need to have 3 crews now, in my opinion. You have to do, it's a safety factor, in my opinion. So, how we get one, I was hoping maybe Greenup would get together and maybe have 2 crews, and then we would not be in Toledo. We'd have 1 in Neoga and 2 in Greenup and subsidize them. I was hoping that would work, but it doesn't look like, I don't know, that may happen too if it goes. But
I believe that is their plan if it goes through in April.
it is their plan to have 2 crews?
Can you confirm that? I talked to Johnny and that's kind of what he told me.
If we can get the manpower, yeah.
Okay, well, that would be, I would like that a lot.
If we get the district, which we've talked about that in the past, if the tax referendum goes through, there'll be 2 ambulances.
Okay.
That's kind of on the burner, but we got ways to be seen.
Yeah, okay, well, but the only other thing would be if Toledo ambulance would get back up running again, then we would have 3 crews rapidly. So, that's what I'd like to see, but how to get that, I don't know. Any other comments from anybody else on, should they start up, or should we keep subsidizing Greenup? Hopefully they have another crew eventually. I know eventually we're gonna have more money, and that's discussed a little later down the line on this, the amended contract for Toledo, I mean, we want to discuss that amended contract is coming up, so they could start up if they wanted to. We also discuss the special territory tax, so there's a good chance we're gonna do a lot more money than what we're getting in taxes right now, no matter what happens. So,
Billy, did you get a chance to look at this?
No,
That I handed to you?
I will.
Okay. Well, part of it has part of our discussion.
Oh, okay.
When you and I talked on the
Okay.
phone. So, I guess, if you don't mind, I'll hop into this document I typed out. So, on the back side is an email from the 911 coordinator. It has the total amount runs, based on 2 years, which was digitally recorded through the new CAD system that dated back to 2/23/21, so it's been in place for almost exactly 2 years. So in 2 years, there were 743 calls. That's including everything, that's including refusals, everything, that's all included, 743. Which comes to, I think I've got 372 calls per year. And talking with Billy, we were under the agreement that 80 to 85% was Medicare or Medicaid. And 175 for Medicaid and 250 for Medicare. And so that average is 225, but I rounded it up to 250 for that.
That's
Just to be fair. So coming up with these numbers at $250 a run, at 372 runs a year is $93,000. The county, if we were to impose the max tax that we could possibly tax, and that is 0.22 in all three areas, which we can't even truly do yet, but hypothetically, if we max that out at 0.22, that income would be essentially $114,000. So $114,000 and $93,000 comes to, let's see here, $207,000. And with, let's see here, get my place here. Talking with Billy on the phone, asked basically what was the bare bones that you guys needed to be able to operate, and you wanted 6 basics.
Yeah, we have to have, yes,
6 basics, 24 on, 48 off.
correct.
And the starting wage that you told me was $54,600 per basic.
Yes,
So-
and that includes the overtime if they just work those
Correct.
shifts, yes.
Which, no benefits, no nothing else, that's just bare right there.
Correct.
That comes to $327,600. So with no other expense at all, no benefits whatsoever, with the max tax that we can tax in these 3 service areas, you're gonna be in the negative $120,600. I don't know how else, I mean, where we're gonna get more revenue to be able to make that functional. I mean, because that's a losing business plan altogether.
Can we get any more runs?
You gotta make more people sick. I mean, we can't,
Transfers, something like that?
we do try, yes. Todd would know more about how the transfers work, because the hospital calls those. But we were on the list.
So hypothetically, I went through this and tried seeing if this would work in any way, shape, or form. I even got it to where I talked to Bev and what it would take for us to make a new resolution and get a .44, like Graham is gonna do, they're gonna do .44, what it would take for us. And it's a long process for us to do that, it's not gonna be easy. But if we did do that, hypothetically, you double that 114,000, 228,000, you're still gonna be in the whole $6,600. And that's at,
Now, are you counting the insurance payments in there too?
that's just the, let's see, 114. The 114,000 was just for the.
Medicare, Medicaid,
Well, yeah, so.
yes,
So I also did a, example of if I did $500 average for your
Mhm.
runs, at 372 runs is $186,000, and you'd still be in the whole $27,600.
right.
Again, I couldn't get this pencil out in any way, shape, or form.
Oh, yeah, you never,
I even tried to go down to 4 basics, which wouldn't even be feasible,
no.
and it still does not pencil out.
Now, how we've done it, for years, I've probably been on the ambulance board maybe 15 years. We usually have enough money to run for 6 months. Then we borrow money. And then when we get our first property tax check, we pay that off. Then we have enough money to run by the time we get our second property tax, another 6 months, and we've done it that way for years. The Toledo ambulance has never made money, ever.
Right, and I'm not saying they do, I guess how can you have a business plan that's constantly negative though? I mean, constantly in the hole. I guess I don't know how you can get a loan if they see this business plan and see that you're constantly.
We always pay it off.
But I don't know what the current model that we have in place, of you trying to hire 6 basics at $54,600, how you ever come out of the hole. There's gotta be more money that has. to
Oh, no,
come
we need more
from-
taxes.
From somewhere,
We do definitely need more taxes. I totally agree with you on that.
which again, even if we did the hypothetical .44, we're still not gonna do it.
And your numbers are only payroll?
That's only payroll, no other expense,
Yeah,
nothing, no benefits, no
Maintenance.
operating expenses, no insurance, no nothing, so that number is gonna be larger for sure.
Much larger. So I have a couple of questions, actually. After I went to the last ambulance board meeting, I had a question on, has anybody done a comparison on, we're paying Neoga and Greenup to do our runs right now, right?
I have.
So have you done the comparison on the times that it takes them to come to our territory versus the times it used to take us to respond to the calls in our territory? How many minutes difference? This goes to what Floyd was saying about the safety factor. How many minutes is it costing people, possibly people's lives?
And I agree with that, but I also wanna reiterate that if that passes in April and the fire department does take over and they do 6 full-time, that is different from what Greenup was doing. So they're gonna have more personnel on hand up front. If, it's 5 miles difference.
Can I,
From
But they
there
don't
to
stay
here.
at the bay. I can personally tell you that.
They won't.
Right now-
If this
The
passes,
only
they won't.
person that stays at that bay is my husband when he
right now
works.
they don't, but if you pass it, there will be people
Right.
there at the station.
Okay,
So you're still looking at an average of 6 to 8 minutes before Greenup ambulance leaves compared to what it used to be. They had a 3-minute response time here in Toledo.
Right now, Greenup's got people as far away as, Liberty Hill, north of Greenup. You know, I mean,
But there's nothing formal, nobody's done a formal breakdown of that.
yeah, it has been talked about over the last few months.
Okay, now my next question is, at that last ambulance board meeting, they told how much that, out of that month, they paid to each of those other 2 districts to cover us. Have you done a forecasted 12-month model of what that would be just to keep doing that?
Yes.
well, that's what this is. This is a 2-year average. So total calls in 2 years was 743 in all 3 service areas.
But based on the way that we're doing it right now, we're outsourcing it, we're paying them.
No, that's, Kyle, I don't think you got the point.
Okay, I guess, yeah.
Mike Black would know that information, would you, Mike? You wanna explain a little bit about that
Yeah, let's-
outsourcing costs?
This is a lot, just almost identical to what, Kyle was just talking about. Hopefully I'll have enough of you guys here, and I wanna make sure the board members get it too. And I think we're on the same sheet of music as far as, monies goes and projections and what you're talking about, you know, as far as, what's our options.
Yeah, it's just a hypothetical scenario, you know, so that people can look at those numbers. And while you're passing that out, I had one other question for her. Does the Toledo ambulance currently have a loan due?
No,
Zero, zero money is due
and they
right now.
have that,
Okay.
yes.
Okay, so basically what I've done was, I've actually used numbers in the month of January, okay? So I'm not going back in yesteryear, you know? I'm not going back 2 years, I'm just gonna go back 1 month, January. And so what I said was, Village of Greenup had 14 runs, and 10 of those was Medicare, 3 of them was private insurance, and one was Medicaid. Neoga had 3 runs, one was Blue Cross Blue Shield was his insurance, one was no insurance, and one was Medicaid. So what Toledo had written to Village of Greenup was $2,150 for the run, for those 14 runs. Based upon the, 150 for Medicare, and Medicaid was 200. So the total cost of the way we have it set up right now with the Toledo Area Ambulance Service by using Neoga and Greenup and reimbursing them was $2,700 total last month. $2,150 to Greenup, $550 to Neoga. And one of those runs was Unc's buddy.
Yeah, I was gonna answer the question
Yeah.
on the amount of time.
Amount of time, he can tell you that too, from Neoga to Ronnie's house.
Right, well, we're supposed to come from Greenup, but they were busy, so
Yeah,
they
we
brought
did.
someone from Neoga. it took, right at 24, 25 minutes.
Wow.
And when I had a, heat exhaustion, heat stroke out in the field on my farm, the ambulance from Toledo was there in about 10 minutes. So, the extra 14 minutes, you could be dead.
Right. Okay, so if we would have had the 6 basics that Kyle is referring to, and paying $54,600 annual salary, you just take it and divide it by 12, it's $45.50 per month per basic person, times 6, our payroll would have been $27,300. So if you look at what we actually had to pay out of $2,700 compared to $27,000, just payroll only, that's only 10%. Okay, so that's really a most efficient, most cost-effective way of getting an ambulance service. Is it the most timely effective? No, not by any means. So we're basically going back to realism. What can we afford to do? What can we do? What should we do in the future? Not what we did in the past. I'm looking out in the crystal ball and saying, okay, so we paid out $2,700 compared to $27,300. So even if we double it, even if we say instead of having 17 runs, we had 34 runs, what would we have paid out? Based on the same math, 5,400, 2,700 times 2. Still a hell of a lot cheaper than 27,000. I don't care how you look at that, okay? So, do we need additional funds? What, question?
This morning, Greenup was out on an accident on I-70 at 6:30. At the same time, Neoga got called out. At the same time, there was a third call and no ambulance to run.
Nobody would do it to run.
And I know the other day, Greenup has run 27 calls since first of the
Since
month.
the 1st of February. Yeah,
No, first
that's
of
why I
March.
said January, this here was so unusual.
Right.
That we have only 17 runs, but even if we had 34 runs or 40 runs, we're still gonna be a lot less in cost, okay, for the taxpayers in area 1, 2, and 3 than what we'd be if we had to pay out those 6 basics, okay?
This is a
So I
stupid
said,
common
do we need
sense
additional
question.
funds?
This is a stupid common sense question, but what is it that, how does Neoga make it feasible?
They're a fire district, okay?
So that's,
That's
they're-
different.
They get the
fire
40
all
district
that,
can get a lot more money, get a lot more grants, and so what the village agreement was suffering was, is what they were trying to do was kind of illegal. So with the fire district, Green Fire District taking it over, there's a lot more avenues for additional money.
so is there laws or something to where we wouldn't be able to have one of their ambulances or
Well, we-
something over here?
We,
They-
Have
they
something?
are-
I mean, is there
Have
any-
it approved.
They are a fire district
Yeah,
and they can't come over here because this is a special service area over here. This is out of the district over here.
and
Plus you gotta
and
realize
Toledo
it's
Fire
one-
District says, no, we're not interested.
And Toledo won't do it as fire district.
Plus you gotta
I
realize
wanna talk
each
to him.
town's got
But I have a
nursing homes
question
and
about that.
interstate.
If Toledo Fire District is saying, no, they won't do it, aren't they volunteers? Aren't the taxpayers
But
paying?
Toledo Area Ambulance Service is a private company.
But what if the voters say that they want the ambulance to be absorbed by the fire department? Is there a way to do that?
Well, you'd have to put it on the voting, but then again, you're looking at 40 cents per 100 compared to 11 like it is right now. So now you're talking about doubling it, and that's what everybody was arguing about. They don't want their taxes back.
At 44% tax, that generates $500,000. This is what Greenup's up against. That generates $500,000. That's not enough. The village of Greenup has agreed to pay another $150,000 a year, and it's still not enough to support the ambulance service as it needs to be ran. And right now, as it is, and the village of Greenup has never been taxed, ever. Nobody out in the district has ever been taxed, not once, for an ambulance service. And right now, everybody says, no, I don't want my taxes raised for an ambulance. That's what Greenup's up against.
Well, I'm in agreement.
I know.
And I am voting for it.
I hope everybody does.
Absolutely.
But a lot of people are saying no because of what's going on right here.
Well,
What do you mean by Bob? What do you mean by what's going on right here?
Because of Toledo not having an ambulance right now because of taxes, because people over here don't want taxed and,
That's not actually the reason.
really?
Yes. It isn't about the money, it's about the transparency. If we had oversight, which is the sole job of the county board, is to have oversight of our ambulance, then we could proceed. So one suggestion is that if Toledo wanted to maintain an ambulance in Toledo, if they were an auxiliary for Greenup, we would have an ambulance right here in town. We have a facility for it, they have an ambulance. The oversight would come through Greenup and through Neoga. So we could have an ambulance in town, it'd be very easy to do.
And the 500 people I've talked to, not one of them has ever said anything about transparency. It's always about taxes.
No, it's our number one thing is transparency. If we had oversight, which is our job, then we can move forward. The whole thing is about transparency. I can't get accurate numbers.
But this paper's about money.
Kyle's got accurate numbers.
I'm just, me speaking for me, I want it to pencil out and be close. I mean, I want something that's gonna work and actually be sustainable.
I've not once heard anything about
A
transparency.
business plan like this model, and these numbers were factual, I contacted the 911 coordinator, got these myself. I'm not relying on hearsay, facts.
Let me finish,
Jonathan, what do you say is transparency?
It's my floor.
And I'm just saying that I want to be able to.
Go ahead, Mike.
I wanna finish.
I have one
You go ahead, Mike. You had the floor.
You're making it quite clear here that it's far cheaper, just not as timely
That's correct.
on your sheet. So what, as an SSA board member, what was your recommendation?
Okay, let me finish if you may, okay? We're getting $58,632. That's what we got in September, October, okay? All right, and I think that's what's gonna be planned, you know, in this coming.
Plus the article,
I'm sorry?
plus the 50,000 article.
Yes.
You guys got.
Yeah. Well, yeah, but that was,
Well,
that was
that's-
just for the
I'm saying you
Yeah.
guys didn't get that on the last one.
yeah. Well,
But we didn't get the whole 50 though.
I'm just saying, we've got
Going
that,
forward,
that
sure.
amount coming. Is it gonna be enough? And the answer is no, it's not, you know? What- We have enough to continue this contract, but are we gonna have enough for the runs based upon what's coming? Nobody knows the answer to that. We don't know, we can't go out and generate the runs, okay? So, right now, based on January, paying out 27, we got enough money. So we don't have to go out and ask the SSA or the people to pay more taxes, because right now, this is working, but for how long? Will Greenup and Neoga continue with that same contract? The question is, will they continue to take on that $150, that $200 Medicare? If they say no, okay, then I'm offering an alternative, which is in the middle of this sheet here, if you want to look at it. It's just sitting there saying 58,632. If we give 75% to Greenup, who's making 75% of the runs, as you see up at the very top, and we give 25% to Neoga, they're gonna make a heck of a lot more money than $150 and $200. But for us, as the taxpayers, it's a known figure. We're still collecting $58,000. But we don't keep track of any of the runs then. We don't have to, if they'll agree to that. Now, to me, if they had 2,700 or 5,400 times 10 months, 54, that we're paying out, it's 54,000, we're gonna pay it out anyway, are we not? Sure we are, okay? So, it is a different approach, instead of going per run, giving them a percentage that we know we're gonna collect, give 75% to Greenup, so they know they're gonna get approximately 50 grand, and then the other gets the other
Do
difference.
you think they would agree to that? That's not very much money yet.
I know it's not,
Have to raise taxes a bunch, and then they might.
here's the thing, if we pay out all this money anyway in actual runs, then where are we gonna get the rest of the money? We have to then look at the SSA in order to raise taxes, which is gonna take a long drawn out time frame in order to get it.
No, it won't be long.
Okay.
You can get to 22 cents pretty quick. Is that the number you're looking for on taxes?
No, 22 cents we're
My-
getting already,
And
right?
my, well,
Yeah.
we're,
Okay.
We're getting that already, see?
no,
No,
we are not, you are not is not getting the 22-16. We just debated at the last meeting, because we,
You guys took it away.
yeah, we
But
want,
it's still 8,
but that's the max that we can go to. 22-16 is the max we can go to,
No, 22, 20.
this year.
This year.
And then
Next
next
year.
year we could go all 3 22s.
correct.
But my fear with what you were saying here, just keeping it the way it was, is will that affect also the service possibly that the special service 3 areas might receive if they're not getting much money for those runs?
It's a
And
way
in the grand scheme of things, I'm gonna be getting hit with .44 from Greenup, and I'm okay with that. Special service area, they're getting .22, getting it for half. So I feel like that's really fair at .22.
Across, right,
Across.
yeah, I'm agreeing with you.
Across.
Okay? I'm just trying to offer an alternative, okay? But I'm sitting here saying, the way we have it set up with this amended contract, I'm asking you guys to go ahead and approve that. Okay, that we continue to pay out Neoga and Greenup as that contract stated, and let's just let time determine whether we have to do the 75-25, or if we have to raise the taxes, okay? Because right now, we have enough money to pay it, correct? We've got enough money to pay it. So, are we in desperate need? No. Are we talking about putting people into the Toledo ambulance and running it? Just like Kyle said, can't be done. I'm sitting there saying it can't be done either, okay? Not unless we have the state and federal come in and offer grant money. Because we don't have a nursing home. We don't have an interstate. So we can't collect what Neoga and Greenup is collecting. We can only collect the Medicare and Medicaid. That's all we got. And it ain't enough in order to keep this thing going. Okay, so right now we have to keep this contract in place with Greenup and Neoga until that time. That's what I'm trying to say here, in this thing here. And so that's my proposal.
Based on your 75%, 25%
Yes.
idea, how is Neoga and Greenup's tax structure set up for profit? Is that legal to give them that amount, or are we mandated to only pay them based on?
We're not mandated anything. We don't even have to pay them $150 and $200. That was a suggestion that we agreed to at least reimburse them something, and they're not breaking even. They're saying the average cost is around $700 to make a run.
7, 8.
Is that right? Okay. So at 150 and 200, when they turn around and make the billing, they're only collecting 150 to 200. We're turning around and paying that 150 and 200 in addition to what they're billing. But it's still not enough in order for them to break even. They're still taking the beating. Okay, so what Greenup is trying to do, Billy, or the fire district, is to try and establish that second ambulance. And they need these monies from the village of Greenup, $150,000. They may come back and say, we need more money from our group, and we'll have to talk about that, you know, because that's controversial, right? But still, right now, I'm being realistic, what we have in place is the best of all the worlds we got. And I hope it doesn't go any other way. I'm done.
All right, Mike, thank you.
The ambulance services in Greenup and Neoga are actually a district which is different than the fire district. They're set up as a different service. They're not actually part of the fire department. But the fire department, if you can understand what I'm saying, the fire department runs it, but it's a separate entity. They pay a separate tax and are run by a separate coordinator and different personnel is the way they're operated. They're not actually, their funds don't come from the fire department. They have separate funding.
Yeah, it'll be a separate line item.
Right,
Yep.
on your taxes.
The fire departments decide they don't wanna volunteer anymore and want paid, we're in a world of hurt.
Here's the,
We're volunteers, I mean,
I know we were too, for years and
Yeah.
years and years.
right.
But
we have a graph, and it shows what the Toledo ambulance has been doing for the last, well, since 2008. And we can see that they have been billing a pretty consistent number up through 2018. It got as high as $959. And that was for 264 runs. And in 2020, 21, and 22, the billing has dropped precipitously. And also the number of runs has dropped considerably in the last quarter. And so we are set based on the runs that we have gotten evidence for in the quarter, actually including January. So it would be September, October, November, December, and January. We are looking at 190 runs as our annual amount, which is unusually low compared to our average before of 346 the previous year, 374, so in the 300s, 200s. But that's what it was back in 2008 and 2009, it was 180 runs. So it's not impossible that we get back to that number. Why we got to such a high number before, I don't know. Why our billing has come down so much is very unusual too. So that's what I'm talking about, transparency. We don't have access to all the numbers that we need. These are things that we've been digging for quite a long time. Looking at
May
these,
I ask you, why
Yes,
can't
sir.
you get numbers, that's HIPAA numbers, or those you can't get,
pardon
or
me?
those HIPAA rules that you cannot
No,
get?
no, it doesn't have to do with HIPAA.
They don't.
Well, how would you know what the run was?
Pardon me?
You're wanting numbers.
Yes, that's correct.
Say I took an ambulance run, Carrie took an ambulance run, Billy took an ambulance run. That is part of HIPAA, because you can't see what service was provided,
Well, we can find out if it was ALS or BLS.
which you,
Right.
but you can't see the records to see that.
Yeah, and that's fine.
Because I don't want you to know why I went to the
I don't
ambulance,
wanna
I'm
know.
sure
I don't
Carrie
wanna
went.
know. I don't wanna know, I don't care. I don't care.
What was the last number you said on that graph?
The number of runs that we are scheduled for this year is 190.
How many,
How many?
is that just a guesstimate because of the first couple of months numbers
Yeah,
that you've got
because of the first 5 months, that's correct, yes.
of 2023?
Of this quarter, they're on fiscal year September 1st. Okay,
I've said it before and I'll say it again. Toledo Area Ambulance is a private company and you have no right to their records, period. HIPAA or not, you have no right to their records.
well, and that's the problem,
Why?
because we need to know the value.
If I had a company out here doing something, you'd have no right to my records.
I also
You're
have a
not a
right to not do
taxpayer
business
funded
with you.
company.
In this case.
I don't care. If I'm putting a roof on this building, you have no right to my records.
Well, I have a contract specifically for you to do.
Do you have a contract with a roofer?
What?
If I'm putting a roof on this building, do you have a contract with me?
I don't understand your question.
How simple can I
I
be?
would expect that to be the case, yes, sir.
Okay, would you have a right to look at my contract?
Of course.
Would you have?
Would you have a right to come to my office and go through my records?
No, but that's not.
Then what's the difference?
It's a huge difference.
No, there's not.
All right.
Easy, Bob.
One is a choice and the other is coercion, and that's what we're talking about.
Okay, now I got a problem now. There was no money stolen, Jonathan. I've told you this and told you this.
I'm not gonna argue with you.
I'm not either, but I don't appreciate you coming into my place of business, both of you, screaming at me.
We never screamed.
Misty,
We never screamed.
it was horrible. I
Oh,
can't,
that's
I
not
can't.
true at all.
no.
You have a conflict of interest. You're
I knew
related.
you would say that.
Of course.
I knew you
I've
would
been
say
there
that.
before, Jonathan, when you've come in.
I'm new to this fight, but this, don't smile at me. This guy's calling my wife's place of employment, bothering her while she's out here teaching your kids to get my information.
Oh, so you're Kenny Kaiser. Nice, okay.
No shit.
So it must have happened if you know who it is.
So, not only that, then he calls my place of business today, calls my HR, and now I gotta go in with a meeting with my damn boss in the morning because you're doing shit you shouldn't be doing.
I'm trying to get in touch with you to invite you.
Well,
to a
how hard
meeting.
is it? I work all over town.
I don't know. I've never met you. I've never seen you till this moment.
Pitiful.
I'm glad to meet you,
Hey,
sir.
Todd, do you know who I am? Oh my goodness, look at that guy. He knows me. Ask him. Todd Layton, you know me? Hey, looky there, another guy.
I don't understand your point.
Yeah, you don't understand a lot, do you? Quit calling people's place of business.
I had to get a hold of you, man. I think it's totally normal.
How many people here think they can get a hold of me just like that? Pretty quick. I'm around all the time.
I don't know you. I'm trying to.
And you don't
invite
need to know me.
You can't.
Perfect.
You cannot call my wife's place of business.
I don't need to now.
Because you'll never talk to me again, ever.
That's fine.
Don't ever contact me, don't ever, nothing.
Perfect.
We're done.
Perfect. And
Buddy.
And that is exactly the problem with this whole contract and Toledo ambulance. We can't get along. I've got.
No, we get along with a lot of people. Nobody gets along with you.
You're the
We
one
got
who's
along.
causing that. You're the
We
one.
definitely got
It-
along.
it's your
Let's
problem.
get transparent. What's your point?
We-
What is your point with attacking the ambulance service?
We provide a service for these people that need a service. We're doing the best we can do with what we got. And that's, I mean, what else do you expect?
We would like to help you with that.
They have provided everything you've asked for months.
Or say Billie's corrupt.
Caused by Jonathan Kaye. It's always your name that's causing the problem.
Always.
It's you that's causing the problem.
How is it my problem?
How so?
This whole room of people are attacking us and we're not able to do our job.
Every month, you have stirred up more trouble every month with the same stuff over and over and over.
Green up and good.
Harassing people. It's terrible.
All right, that's stop. Hold it, John. You don't have evidence, you don't have no evidence of what these runs, you're not very, why, how can you kind of have a number of runs? We don't know what the runs are. Let's assume they were like Kyle's.
No, we're going off of
Stop
911.
you right there. Those are 911 numbers, those are from the 911 coordination. Those are not his numbers, my numbers, those are factual numbers that are recorded.
Amen.
In the CAD system, put in place 2/23/21.
That's all you
From
do.
September
That's all you do.
1st.
Right, that's the same
From
numbers we're
September
going by. That's
1st.
the exact same numbers.
From September 1st to January 31st, then 79 runs are from the CAD system, FOIA'd from 911. 79 runs over 5 months is 190 runs extrapolated. Yes, there may be more runs in the summer, there may be more runs in the winter, I don't know. But that's, number is from 911.
It's accurate, but it's not a yearly number we can use, in my opinion.
I had a problem one night, and I just come from an ambulance meeting, and, I called up Michael up, and she said, you'll have to call 911, you know. And then we called 911 called her, and then they were there in, 5 minutes. But I could not get an ambulance without going through 911. Everything's gotta go through 911.
Correct. Well, and to balance for Jonathan's records here, if you take those 2 years and add them together, I mean, it's pretty well what Kyle has on his, so I mean,
I think it's all,
there's probably.
honestly, the same point that I'm trying to make here, I guess just going about it maybe is different, but, I mean, those not, regardless, it will not pencil out.
Well, his numbers, your numbers are, they're exactly the same.
It's the same.
The truth of the matter is that we cannot afford to go and ask 6 basics to come work for us and be able to pay for that until we get additional assistance. And Jonathan, I wish you'd take your time to try and get financial assistance from the state or from the federal.
Absolutely, we've been talking about grants the whole
Instead
time.
of trying to cause chaos here.
I'm not causing chaos. You guys are causing chaos. Don't be turning this on me. I'm trying to solve this problem. You guys are coming and attacking me. Settle down. Listen, there was no grants applied for during COVID. $1 trillion print by the federal government, and there was no grants applied.
Okay, let's just, don't worry about yesterday. Let's worry about tomorrow. Why don't you apply for the grants for tomorrow? Why don't you come up with solutions
I'd
instead
love
of
to. Put me on the board and I will help. put
You
us,
can't put on the
I
board.
can't, I just don't have a voting
You
role.
cannot
And
be
we can
put on
put
the
some
board.
other people on the board. Put some conservatives on the board instead of all these liberals, and we'll
Oh,
smooth it
my
out.
God. That's enough. That's enough.
I can't believe it.
It's everything to do with politics.
Huh? Yeah, I'm about to become a liberal.
Floyd, I've got a question. Floyd. Getting down to this, is the board gonna make a decision tonight? Is that what the goal of this meeting is? No.
We're hoping to have our minds somewhat made up, yes.
Okay, so
And interact.
best case scenario, how fast are any of these ideas that Mike presented gonna be put into place?
At the next board.
Possibility.
Well, what if didn't we have the .22 and last month you guys took it away?
Right.
But how quick can it go back?
We have until April board meeting to do that. So this
Well,
next
why
board
was it
meeting,
taken away last time?
because we were throwing crap at a wall and hoping it stick. We didn't know the true numbers.
Okay.
I wanted the
Thank you
real
for being
numbers that I asked 4 board meetings in a row for, and I never got the factual numbers. So I took it upon myself and got them myself.
So the answer is approximately another 30 days we're
You
in
can
limbo,
have the money back
correct?
for that tax.
At least
Next board
30
meeting,
days.
we can pass
Put it back.
Next
board meeting is Tuesday.
There's some prospects that the state might change.
Yeah, next board
I
meeting,
thought he just said
next
April-
Tuesday.
April board meeting.
Yeah, it's next Tuesday's the board meeting.
Right.
I want
We
to
can't
ask
go
the
by.
Toledo ambulance, you had
Yeah.
interviews? Have you
This
hired
is a
any?
special meeting.
No, but we interviewed five last night. They were all very good,
Right.
and we have 2 tomorrow. And then I got a phone call, there's 2 more coming in today.
And did Possum just say that Greenup is having a hard time getting help?
They are.
They
They
are.
are.
All right, but you got 5 people.
Yeah, we did.
Yes, we
We
did.
finally did after months.
Yes, we did. Yes, we did.
And 4 more.
And we have 2 more interviews tomorrow,
2
and
more after that.
3, there'll be 3, because another one doesn't know when he can come, so there'll be,
So,
I got 2 phone calls today.
so you've got 5 interviews you've done,
That
2
done
for
last night.
tomorrow, 3 more future after that.
We haven't actually started taking
So
apps,
there's
have we?
plenty of people in the pipeline then, so Greenup should be able to get some people.
You're more worried about Greenup than what we
They're
are.
wanting
We
to
want
come to
people
Toledo.
here.
About anybody.
We haven't actually
We
started
know
taking
that. We
apps
know you're
yet.
not worried about anybody. We know that for a fact.
So, my question
Contact,
is,
contact.
If we gotta wait 20 minutes for an ambulance.
Have they met with the Greenup board about this?
let's say you hire
Have they met with the
6
Greenup
bases
board
that
about a
you're requiring,
contract to cover them?
and we see what the numbers are gonna be, that's not
I'm not
counting
talking to you.
withholdings and.
I'm talking to a village board member.
any of that stuff.
Now, I will tell you, most of them said last night that they really didn't wanna work.
No, I'm talking about the village
24
board.
on, 48 off. They'd rather
So
work
they've
the
not come and
48
asked
on
you,
And then 48 or 72 off.
Like
That's
it
what,
used to be.
yeah, like it used to be. Because they live away
Toledo.
and they don't wanna have
but
to
the thing
drive every
says
other
a
day.
contract.
away from their kids.
Yeah, they'll just be here for the 48 hours, or one of them even said they wanted to work 3 days straight.
And then they wanted
Not a
to
good
spend
idea.
time with their
Without a
kids.
contract,
Yeah,
there's
not a
nothing
good
binding
idea.
that Greenup is gonna
Billy, I
cover
guess I've got a
Toledo.
question, and do not take this wrong
Oh,
at
you're
all,
fine.
that seeing these numbers here and just interviewing people, if you see these numbers and know that you financially are not gonna make it, I mean, if I was the employer, I'd be scared crapless of doing that.
We're running like that for 4 years.
I
We've done it
know,
from day one.
not starting, not this.
And I totally get that. That's why we are requesting more taxes.
Right.
That's why we are
But
requesting
even
more
with
taxes.
Now that you see these numbers, even with the more taxes, maxed out, still it does not work. Does not, it's
We were
not.
paying $32,000 for
And-
the basics before in September 1. Now we're all from 54.6, almost double. Okay, without the income coming in, so it's not feasible to try and hire somebody and take them away from a perfectly fine job, and then 30 to 60 days later, ask them to leave because we can't afford to pay it.
I don't want that
No,
to
we
happen.
don't want that to
Okay, so
happen.
I've got a question. If you hire some, but could they still have volunteers working too? Or is everybody be paid?
No, everybody has to be paid.
But they can't have volunteers?
Yes.
Why can Greenup have volunteers?
Well, That's why they're in kind of trouble now.
Sorry. As you know, my husband's a PRN over there. He goes in at usually 6 AM on Saturday and gets off at 6 AM Monday. He sits at the bay. Because he doesn't feel comfortable driving from Toledo over there, and that slows the response. So,
But out of those 5, 4 of them want full-time, 1 part-time. And the 2 tomorrow night is full-time.
there's another one that's.
So I have a question that stems
Oh,
off of
that's-
her
yeah.
question, and forgive me for not knowing the law on this, but how many certified EMTs do we have on Toledo's fire department?
None.
Zero?
Yeah, you do. No, you don't.
1.
Urkel.
Jerry,
We have one?
1.
I was hoping that number would be higher, but,
You would like to think it would be, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
We have 2 on 911, we have Jennifer and Michael, though.
They're paramedics.
Yeah, EMTs.
okay, so
No, they're
that's,
paramedics.
that's
They're
even better.
paramedics.
So, and I'm going back to his example of 14-minute time difference. Why can't we do something with the 3 medics that we have in Toledo to where they can respond, they can provide life-saving measures until a bus gets there?
My husband does. We bought a
Is
jump
that
bag.
even legal?
You
Can
can't
we
for-
provide them a go bag with stuff to provide those life-saving measures until an ambulance from
Yes,
Neoga
we
or
took
Greenup
our,
gets there?
we took our own money and made him a jump bag.
You
He
can't,
responds here in Toledo.
you can't force somebody to do something that's
But
not
he
on,
does it because of the community.
that's not on a service.
Right, I'm not saying force them. I'm just asking, is that even legal?
Yes.
And would that be something that both boards could come together on to fund? It wouldn't cost that much.
There is a designation called EMR, which is, there's ALS, BLS, and EMR. And the EMR can do certain things, but mostly they're a driver. And that's something that we haven't had a conversation about.
Because they don't do EMRs no more.
Pardon me?
They do not do EMRs no more.
I think we can get approval from it. We've checked with our,
We don't need drivers. We need paramedics and basic.
And if the driver's needed, a
don't-
fireman jumps in.
Yeah, we already have the drivers covered if we need a driver. That is no problem in Toledo.
that's what we need, is a driver.
And we've told you that, Jonathan, numerous times.
Told me what?
That we don't need the drivers. We
No,
have
you
them.
told me that. I presented it as an EMR and BLS proposal.
And we told you there is no such thing as that anymore.
Well, there is actually, so.
Okay, let's, move on,
I got one question.
Todd, one last question.
Okay, the way I see it is the Toledo ambulance is willing to take this, burden and the expense of, Kyle's number showing you that you're not gonna be able to be.
And all the board members are here but one. And
you
with
guys
all-
are still willing to what do you guys borrow money? I mean, you're like.
Me and Bob sign it. So there's
fire
no
department guy
corruption.
there Says, you're a private company, so that debt would never come back to us,
That's true.
That's true.
so,
Has it yet?
no, I'm not,
Exactly.
I'm just saying.
Right.
Right, so for me, if you guys are wanting to do it,
All we're asking is give us a chance.
I don't see a problem with it.
Thank you.
Now, without oversight, we've gotta be able to see what's going on.
Only thing you have anything to do with is the tax money.
You can see
And
everything you need to
salary.
see.
gonna see oversight.
I have a business, Jonathan, and you don't ask to see all my stuff.
I'm not doing business with you.
I think these people have showed they've got quite a bit of knowledge as ambulance at Toledo, and I feel very comfortable with them.
Not financial. No. The financials are a mess, and they won't provide consistent info. For 2 years, they've only given us 10 months worth of info. and
That is a lie because I gave you all the way back to 2020, 2 weeks ago on Friday.
It's not a lie.
That was every monthly financial report, every month.
No.
Chad got it,
We
Every-
didn't have,
Kyle
we didn't
got
have
it.
2 months in either of those years, so we had 10 months in each of those 2 years.
Okay, I got one question, then, Jonathan. With this oversight, what will it benefit us?
We will actually know how many runs are made and what we're getting for our runs in terms of the SSA and our tax money.
Thought Kyle got that from 911.
You can get all the runs from the.
Correct.
As far as, like, talking with Billy, you know, mostly all your runs are gonna be Medicare and Medicaid in these. in
Yes.
these three areas.
And it's all
80
top
to
right-hand
85.
corner.
Right.
Yep.
So, even doubling that number, which I've done at 500, still, it didn't pencil out, but like Todd said, I just don't know. Yeah, I wouldn't be able to sleep at night if I had saw financial, I was gonna end up like that.
Billy,
And I don't know how it's gonna work, and I sure don't want you guys to go out, and then we're gonna be back at square one, and we're gonna have to be hurrying up, figuring something out, making an agreement with Green Up Again and Neoga, and I don't wanna have to do this all the time.
I don't wanna have to
We
do it
didn't
again
go
either.
out for financial. Went out because everybody quit. We
Because they
went out
wanted
because
more
of the
money.
employees that
Which
quit.
is financial,
Yeah,
more money.
because they needed more money, yes.
Correct.
That's not what you said when I went to that meeting in September. You said all our employees left and we don't know why.
We didn't at that time.
Mhm.
Because that was an August meeting, by the way, too. That's when they all quit. I think you was at that meeting when they all quit.
No, I was in the September meeting. Yeah.
Well, yeah, we did not see that coming. We did not.
Now, looking back, they know the answer now.
Yeah.
Looking back. Okay, let's move on to this amended contract that our SSA board has brought to us to help us sign so they can basically put them to do what they feel is best for the town, for the sewer area. If we can get this contract so that, supposedly, illegal, so they can be back in business or keep subsidizing unit and the other, whichever they feel like is best for the. And I say, Kyle, if they end up going broke in a year, well, they lost money, but then they know they might succeed. It's one of them things, you gotta take a chance once in a while. And they'll give it their best shot, I feel like that, they will. So I think I'll leave that up to the ambulance board to continue as long as they possibly can, and not let them back and tag on with Green Up again. Hopefully they'll do some tagging on Green Up when Green Up gets the plan in place, okay? You all have a copy of this amended contract in front of you. Oh, there was not a whole lot of, little several changes. That was, I guess, there wasn't a whole lot. First of all, on page 3 of the old contract, the reports they took out, the real and service shall provide a monthly staff report to the special secretary commission that lists the monthly billable, receivable, and automatic payments that include bill payable. I think that means that there isn't place in the contract, so I think it's still in there.
It should be still in there.
I think it's still in there, just in different place. Then, on page, it says, well, on your new contract, your page,
On the old contract and the new contract, both paragraph 5 are reports.
yeah, then they're five portion, 5 in the old contract, the bottom paragraph of reports is taken out. Sewer and service. I think it's redundant to me to take that out. But then you'll notice on the financial statements on the new contract, it says Toledo area ambulance service shall cause to have the organization's financial statements prepared by a certified public accountant. So,
Where's that? What paragraph?
that's page 8 on, no, paragraph, item 8 on page 5 of the new amended contract. That was not in the old contract, actually. Okay, you see that? So you'll have a CPA prepare their financial statements once a year. Right? That should be adequate. Okay, ready to move on to the next one? They took out number 6 in the old contract is personnel and locations, which said it's supposed to have an EMT in Toledo at all times. They took that out. Okay. And on the next page is a old contract, business address, they took that out because they were different. And some of them personnel are not working for them anymore. Coordinators not, they're different coordinators, whatever, not working, they took it out. They took out the not assignables, which is necessary. And number 10, they took out the audit. So, I think that's all it is.
So there's even less transparency.
Well, I don't think they need an audit. We've got this financial statements filled out by the CPA coming to the SSA board. That should be, they should be able to look at that and see, that should be in place and audit, should show a lot of where the money went. Okay? Any comments other than that? Questions?
Well, kind of revert back to what you started out with, you said you wanted three trucks. So that's, Green's plan, they will have three. Yes, if it passes and everything.
They'll have two.
They'll have two, they'll have one, they'll have three.
Okay. Well then,
And there's still two more to come.
So, just asking you, so then, would you still want to do a three-year contract then? With three-year contract?
well, we can still need the contract subsidized reading.
Why? Why do you have to do it through three ambulance?
Well, we don't have to, but why not?
Well, that's why you have a special citizen.
Well, because.
I'm just trying to figure out, like, why so many middlemen?
Well, and more transparency. And I think.
No, that's more loophole, that's just the opposite.
Well, that Toledo ambulance have a lot of knowledge when it comes to ambulances.
I'm not saying they don't, I'm not disagreeing, I'm just trying to figure out why you need all the different loopholes to jump through to accomplish
Well,
one
I
thing.
like to keep that in case that, you said Green's gonna have three trucks. Like
Two.
Can you guarantee me that?
Well, if it passes the April, that's what they're shooting for, yes,
Are they,
yes,
if it passes?
if it passes,
Well, see, we don't know that.
correct.
But until then, I like to have a contract in place, till they come up with what they got.
Why do you need it in place now and why not after? Because they're paying out the runs right now, correct? You're paying out to Green Up and Yoga now. So why? Why do you need a contract now? You don't.
Well, because I'm not saying it's breach contract.
Well, it's already been breached, the old one.
Already a breach.
That's already,
Well,
Gone over.
let's put it back with the legal, let's make a contract that's illegal and make,
I don't wanna do any of that until after, so it happens in Green, personally. I don't see a need why, they're paying out the runs now.
Your numbers for your runs aren't even accurate. My dad's been having mini strokes. My dad had a mini stroke the other day, 2 days ago. My 70-year-old mother loaded him in the car and drove him to the hospital because she didn't wanna take the chance of not getting an ambulance. So my dad could have a big one, or he could have been blinded. So, I mean, you guys don't even have accurate numbers because people are driving themselves.
Yeah, it may have been quicker to drive yourself than wait for an ambulance to show up.
My mom and dad live 2 blocks from the bay.
Yeah, but it's the care you get in the ambulance.
Well, that's what he's saying, it'll be faster for you to drive yourself instead of waiting for an ambulance.
That's the important part.
But my mom's 70 years old. If my dad had a big one in the car,
She can't help. It's better
She
to
can't
phone your
help.
car made.
I
Or
mean,
what about the business owner that had one last
Okay.
week?
back to this contract. I'm gonna put this amended contract on the county board meeting next Tuesday night. The 6 board members will vote on it. Which way it goes, I don't know, whatever, okay? Okay, also, the next thing I'm gonna talk about is the special service area tax. We had Tucson taxation, a couple months ago, our SSA board recommended a tax increase. And so we passed it, right? The board passed that tax increase. And for some reason, last meeting, we come back and we abated the tax rate. I would like to put it back where it was, so we're gonna need the money someday, I know.
What is the max rate for those 3 areas?
22, 22, 22.
But the max we can get for this year is 22, 16.
Correct.
For this year.
Can we get it in the, this time vote around that it's the .22, .22, .16 and not a number?
Yes, I have to put in dollar amounts in the levy, because you don't know the EAVs when you're doing the levies. So you just put a dollar amount, hoping you're getting close to the 16, 22. You have to go shoot higher to get that max rate. Does that make sense?
Kind of.
Because you
Yeah,
have an
You have to go
estimated EAV for
23, 23, and then whenever she does her calculation, it's gonna go back to the 22, because that's the max that she can go. But it guarantees them the full rate.
Yeah.
That's what you have to do, you have to put in a inflation number, so when she does
Could you do
calculation,
that?
it goes back to the 22.
Okay, well, I'd say we're a little short then by doing the 22, but I think we're gonna go that route and get that tax up, so they're gonna need it in the future, whatever. Mr. Ron Black, will you?
I'm gonna go with Bev. I was a school superintendent, so I had to make up the tax levies. they have to be in dollars, they can't be in percentages. We always made sure that we added enough for new construction that was in the county or in the school district, and made sure that we had enough that, we could be up against whatever our numbers were. And that way it gave us the percentage later on that we were looking for. So you actually have to ask for more dollars than what you're gonna get.
Okay. All right, thanks, Ron. We'll try to shoot our best to get a good number out there. We'll put that on the agenda of this next county board meeting to discuss maybe the tax abatement, whether we wanna rescind the tax abatement, or what we wanna do with that, okay?
I say take action on it, for sure.
Take action, all these three items I said, we will take action on from this board meeting. And you can vote them up or vote them down, I don't care what you do, I really on the agenda to be voted on, okay? Okay, anything else, Dr. Chris, are you done?
I'd like,
Around the table here and find out. Go ahead.
going back to what Todd said, and this is going way back, and just to make sure that I have the story straight, Billy and Bob said that they signed their names on the loan. When they're behind, they can't get past the next 6 months, like she said, they do it, they can make it 6 months. And Todd says that he's okay with them signing that, as if they're their private business. If they fail, they fail. This board is not liable for that debt. I want it to be on record that when you people vote, you cannot in good faith vote to hang these two people if that ambulance service fails in 6 months. You cannot in good faith put them on the hook. Their entire livelihoods can be taken. That's more than either one of them making a year. How are they gonna bail themselves out of that? You can't hang them. You can't put that on them.
I don't think that's how it would work. Brian, you wanna speak to that?
They personally guarantee the loan and the business fails, then they'll be personally liable for any money loaned by the
Well,
banks.
wouldn't they do it as a business, a nonprofit? They're loaning that money to the business.
They're saying they're putting it.
Well, I do have a question for that. If they receive the money from the tax dollars.
Yeah.
And they go out and they've got remaining balance of the tax money that was levied, and they have that, and they're gonna default on their loan, they're going out of business, what happens to that money?
But you give it to them, it's theirs.
It's theirs. So that is a problem. So you know, and everyone else knows. That if they default, that is your tax dollars and
Your
those
tax
fees
dollars go
are
down the drain,
gone.
right with it.
And we can't get that back to then negotiate with Green Up and Yoga if that would happen. That is why it scares the crap out of me.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, that's it, right? I'd like to have a motion to, you done, Todd?
Well, I'd still like to hear what the board members have to say about some of these issues so that we,
Discuss it.
know if we've
Another meeting.
discussed it enough or not. I mean, because, I kind of feel how I hear him, I know how he's talking and how I've talked, I haven't heard from, I know how Floyd kind of thinks, he's kind of like, I don't know about Todd or Mrs. Blade here.
I can see what Kyle's saying very clearly. I mean, I hate to see the tax money go, we can't do it. I mean, it's gone, it's gone. And at the same time, it scares me, I hate to think that, Bob and Billy are going to take their own personal finances and maybe go down the drain. I mean, you
We've
gotta
done
give
it
it
for
to them,
years.
I know you have, but gosh, the economy's worse than what it used to be.
I think I started signing it when Donna left.
Yeah.
I think that's when they put me on it with Bob.
That is
I
just,
just kind of wonder what Wes says.
that's just insane. I mean, I give it to you guys for doing that for all that amount.
But the volume was different.
It was a different.
The
number.
dollar amount
It
was
a
different.
lot
Is it a lot
larger number
more
than
now?
I think the most that we ever borrowed at one time was what?
90,000, was it, or,
I thought it was 60.
well, it might have been, I don't remember.
It's
No,
the
that's
most.
still-
At one time.
It's 1,000.
Mhm. At one time, that was the most we ever borrowed. That's why we are requesting more
And I
taxes.
think in the contract is somewhere, there's we had to have a credit,
$180,000,
with 180.
and we had that line of credit at the
That was,
bank.
before we could get the contract, we had to sign that or the bank had to give us $180,000.
And we still have that line of credit.
So would you be confident now, if you did get this 636 at 54.6, and noticing this difference on financial, that you could even get another loan?
Oh, yeah. He has a copy stating that.
Yeah, we can get the loan, we got somebody writing a grant, and next year, there's a possibility that the state of Illinois is, because we're not the only county or ambulance that's in trouble, and the state is finally realizing it, and I think, well, Jonathan could probably tell you, but I think it's, they're gonna give $600,000 and take $300,000 back, aren't they?
Yeah, now that's an important point. The Medicare change is only good for municipals. It's not good for nonprofits, so we will not actually get that entire reimbursement from Medicaid. So that's a problem. That's another reason why.
They sent us a form to fill out every month.
Okay.
Every month, they sent us a form. So we're on the list.
I stand with what I said.
I stand with what I say.
Okay, very good.
Well, that's the only thing that's gonna make it go, if, we've got somebody that's already got a grant in, wrote a grant, and, if we can get that, we can survive for quite a while, and, if the state comes through, we can make it, if we could get $300,000, we can make it work easy.
Like I said, these people, they are working on things, the grants out there, that's possible, they are putting the time in, and, let's hope that he thinks right, let's put a little effort behind them and see what we can do. Go ahead.
I do have another, just a scenario to throw out there, and just curious your thoughts on it, but what if we didn't renew with Toledo Ambulance, and we went the other route and gave the money to Green Up and Neoga, and then that grant did come through, and then we renegotiate and start another contract with Toledo?
I don't know, that would be a question for our attorney. I have no idea.
I don't know, just hypothetically throwing out ideas.
Well, and like they just said, we'd have a hard time getting the people back, because that's
No,
what.
no.
To be honest, I don't know how, I would think you're having a really hard time getting people back, knowing that with seeing the financial, that it's bound to fail. I mean,
Not feasible.
It's not feasible. Unless there's money that's coming from thin air or somewhere else or somewhere else.
It's nice to have,
it's
nice to have the plan in place after the grant money comes and let's execute.
Right.
We have the people, we got the application, we got the ambulance, now we got the money. Now we can go, okay? But until the money gets here, you guys can't go in debt, cause if you go $180,000 in debt, you only got 58,000 coming, you're gonna be short $100,000 plus. No, that's wrong.
You're handicapping them though right now, if they're already interviewing people, you got people waiting to go to work and you keep putting it off.
All these people have a job already, I mean, we're not taking.
Yeah, we're not taking it away, but I'm asking, don't hire them now, cause we don't see how that money can be paid to them. 2 months from now, 3 months
We
from now.
know something would be worth a lot, that would tell us a lot.
But
We got on to get. Yeah, I want to hear this.
if you don't have a contract with Toledo Ambulance Service, then the SSA does not have an ambulance service operating. Will they be able to get a grant if there is no contract
No.
in place?
Nope.
Probably not. See,
I think that you're gonna have to have a contract.
Catch 22.
Well, let's see the grant, let's bring the grant and we'll work on it together.
Let's see a bid for a contract.
Gonna help you put your roof on now.
JT, do you have any input?
Yeah, let's see a bid for a contract.
Don't wanna keep people too late. I know one thing, you can't put money on a life unless you're an insurance salesman.
And you're the beneficiary.
And you're the beneficiary, yeah.
It even
So,
doesn't come through them, I'm doing
Yeah.
that with my
And-
sister and all that.
you just can't, and time is life whenever you're dealing with medical. While I'm on board with what Kyle's saying, and it's not feasible, you're more than likely gonna go broke.
You got the golden hour.
But we need a service that can make timely runs now. If Billy and Bob are willing to go out on that ledge to keep it going, I don't know why we should put a chalk walk in front of them to do it. The reason I voted the abatement the money wasn't enough. I was hoping maybe we could just get more, but it's gonna take a while. But, you know, if we're gonna put money on people's lives, then who are we? Are we Grim Reapers? Nope. I see people die in the critical care unit because they can't get ambulance for transfer all the time. We're gonna take another ambulance out of service because of money? Bullshit. If I could vote 5 times for the money again, I would vote for it again. So, that's where I stand.
Thank you, Todd. Any other comments for close? from the
What is
board?
the process of going to the higher rates past that 22?
You have to mail letters to everyone in the service area.
You have to have a certain percentage.
You have to have a hearing, they have 60 days to object. And if you have 51% object, then it doesn't go. 51% of the landowners, 51% of voters.
And then after that 60 days, how much longer until it actually gets a vote? So you got a minimum of 60 days there.
That's a different vote.
Then it'd have to be done in enough time to be able to do the levy. Levies are due in December. That's,
So that's a long way out.
yeah, it's a process.
Timely process.
And you're always a year behind on taxes.
So what's the cutoff date to be able to raise it?
Well, right now, we did the levy in December, and that was for the 22, 22, and 16. So if they rescind the abatement, then we can get, approximately, that's what we'll get.
That's what we'll get if we vote next week.
Okay, but what if you wanna raise it beyond that?
Then that would be the levy in this coming December.
So when do you have to have a cutoff date for that?
Well, December, that's when the levies are. Then they could do the 22.
They could do it up to 44?
No, 22.
No, they could go to 22.
All
That's the
If they-
maximum you could get for anything, is 22, 22, 22.
If throughout this year, if they wanted to go ahead and do the letters and do all that, if we had enough time, we have to look at our time frame. If they wanted to increase it to the 40, 44, we'd have to send out all those letters and get it all done to be able, and if it passes,
But you could go up to
higher, if they go through the steps.
If we go through all those steps, correct. It's timely, but
But
yes.
it won't be this year.
but it's still,
It would be,
It can be done.
it can be done. You could go farther.
And then the other option that I still keep bringing up to everyone is, looks like Neoga and the fire department, Neoga Fire is successful. Now Greenup's wanting to go with their fire system. Why can't Toledo go along with the Toledo Fire and do just like everybody else?
They don't want to.
We tried that, and their lawyer was at the meeting, and he said that you can't force them to it, but
Well, we can't force them, but
And just so you know, they can make the rate 0.44.
Yeah.
If it's in the fire.
If it's in the fire, it can be raised
be
below.
voted on.
Yes.
So my comment on record is that the Toledo Fire Department, wants to help the community like they say they do, then, help the community and take on the Toledo ambulance.
So who's the one bucking over there then?
Who is that, Todd?
I'm sure it's more than one person. More than one person.
We was at that meeting, the whole board was. Then when we was at the meeting, the whole board was against it.
It's,
But when the lawyer was there, Jonathan was there, Bob was there, I was there,
I think there's,
and yeah, you was there.
there's a law, there was a law somewhere, I think, that the ambulance failed, that the fire department had to take it over, that's what we were, but, their lawyer said.
I was,
no, that's
I was
not
told
true.
at one time that if you eliminated a special service area, that it automatically defaults to the fire. Is that true?
That's true.
That is true.
What was that?
What we ran in, that is true, what we ran into last time when we posed that, is the fire department said, yeah, you give it to us, we're gonna do the absolute minimum, and you're not gonna have an ambulance, we don't have to have an ambulance. We just have to provide the minimum services, and that's exactly what we're gonna do.
And that's what they
So
said.
all you people that are mad at us, you need to take your frustration out on the Toledo Fire Department.
I'm frustrated about the whole entire
That ain't all
situation,
true either.
because you
You,
can't come
you know,
back
you
and
could,
do
you
that.
could,
That's not
you
all
could
true
force
either.
it into the Toledo Fire Department,
But
and you
you're
could
not
put the
gonna-
rig over there, but who's gonna run it?
that's good.
Oh, so when they raise the tax to 4.4, they'll have the money to hire people.
No, they won't.
Not necessarily, not if you don't, not if you don't have about 650,000.
Yep.
There's nobody gonna be there. You're gonna be in the same boat you're in now.
Well, let's try this system we got, try to get the SSA, the two ambulance back and limp it along till either fall apart or we can figure something better out.
Well, I still have one question for Mike, because, you're the SSA, and what's your full recommendation?
My full recommendation is, please accept the amended contract. I think it's, and just like Hunt said, we need to be able to have that contract in place just in case. Second thing is, it's on the bottom of that thing right there. Have provisions for the tax increase. So what you're talking about and bringing that back, as I offered, 22, and 16 initially, and you took it away, put it back on there. If we don't need it, we don't have to have it, but it's there in case that we do, okay? And again, we got enough money in order, the way I look at it, to operate on at least for the next 6 months. And at that point in time, if we see that we need to put it on, then let's put it on, okay? Because you already got passed, we don't have to go through this stuff again. But once you make a decision, leave it alone. Don't take it away and then turn around and put it back on again. Like we should.
I just wanna, on that regard, reason why I voted against it, and I wanted to take it back, was because I did not have factual numbers. I asked 3 or 4 times from my special service area board even, and never got factual numbers.
And also know.
And that special service area board is appointed by the county board to do their job, to be the mediator between Toledo Ambulance and the county board. That is their job. So, when I'm not saying it wasn't transparent by any means, but it was very, very frustrating to me that I did not get factual numbers. Because I don't wanna make just guesses and throwing crap at a wall and hope it sticks. I want numbers, I want averages, I want to budget. That is what I wanna do, and I want it to be successful. I wanna try to find a way to make it successful, but I just wanna be extremely clear, that is why I took it back until we figured it out. But if I had those numbers, absolutely first vote, I would've
Okay,
said
Billy,
absolutely.
last question for Billy, then you're done.
I wanna ask to the board, who appointed Mike Black to the SSA?
Well, my first go around with him, I voted no.
But-
Second go around, I voted yes.
Did the Toledo ambulance have anything to do with him getting on the SSA board commission?
No.
Thank you. I was screamed at, saying that he was my guy. We put him on there, and that is not true. We don't even know who submitted his name.
Who screamed at you, Billy?
Jonathan and Claire.
I've never screamed at you.
We're gonna just get this straight then, Mike, who recommended it?
Let me go on and finish what I think he was asking about, Todd, okay? At the time that I recommended that, and with the help of Jerry and Chad, we discussed, what should we do about increasing the taxes to make a recommendation to. That's what the SSA does, okay? But at the time, it was based upon the fact that we had the ambulance running, but now we didn't have it running, so we were needing the money in order to pay the payroll, okay, at the time. All that's changed, all that's out the window now, because we don't have the employees in order to pay for it, okay? So looking at the proposed amended amount is simply just stating that if we happen to have more runs than we can pay for, at least we have a mechanism in place in order to get additional monies to pay that contract until the federal government comes in, or the state government comes in, or some miracle donor comes in with lots of millions of dollars to give us in order to start this ambulance up again. So, we're not going to spend the money and waste the money. That's not the intentions of trying to get this thing increased. We wanna make sure that what if, and are we gonna have enough, and can we continue to monitor it on a monthly basis? That's what we're doing right now. They're giving me and Jerry and Chad those monthly reports, and right now, we're in the black, and we're making these contracts work, and it's working for Greenup, and it's working for Neoga. So I'm asking you, don't rock the boat. Let's just continue to monitor, and then when we see that we're running out of money, then that's where this 22, and 16 is coming into play. And then we need to activate it. Do we have to enforce it? No, you don't have to enforce it. Just because you sit there and pass it doesn't mean it has to go into play, is that correct?
It'd go through the system and we would collect it.
But we'd still have the money.
But that little
Okay.
percent is
Earmarked for the
peanuts.
ambulance service.
to what
Just
it's gonna
earmarked for
take.
the ambulance service.
Correct.
Agreed.
Okay, let's have a motion to adjourn.
Well, I got a question, or wanted to address Kyle. On your concern about the contract and having both of them on there, I would feel that having both of them on there, it's gonna take some time to get Greenup up and running. So if you have that other in the contract, at least you'd be able to be subsidized by it being there, because it's gonna, but listening to what Beverly said, it could take 2-3 years to get Greenup up and running if the district was to get their funding, you know what I'm saying? To get that funding, so I'm just sitting here thinking that, what if?
We have to have a contract in place for us to be able, or for the service areas to subsidize out now, is that correct?
That's the way you're talking, you'd have to, I don't know, you're turning it maybe,
I would say there's no law that says you have to, but I certainly wouldn't advise giving people money without a contract in place.
It is no better.
Yeah, unless you're just giving somebody money and hoping for the best. So, yeah, I would never exchange money without a contract.
One other thing for Tuesday night agenda, and sorry, I won't be able to show up for that, I'll be fishing. We have an opening on our SSA, and I gave you a nominee, and I'd like for him to be nominated and voted on, to put on the SSA and stuff.
I don't need
Can I make one comment? I didn't know that Billy and Bob had been making these sacrifices for our community for a long time. And I would like to publicly thank them and Wes for putting their name and their livelihood and their savings and their businesses and all that. I mean, that's amazing, and it's the kindness for helping the community, and to be willing to still do it after all this shit that they're going through, literally, so that they're going through, to be willing to do that is amazing, and I for one appreciate everything.
So if we'd have had, $6 or 7 years ago, our former, head girl had a 55, I think is what we thought, that's what she put down, what we thought we ought to need. We didn't need 55, but if we could have had a little more and we could have got the money 6 years ago, what we're talking about now, we might have still had an ambulance, we could afford to be paying that, because our runs are so much less. We had a girl last night that had worked 48 hours, she had 3 hours sleep in 48. I mean, that's how hard they're working these other ambulances this was out of Effingham. But, they would rather work here for less money and maybe 5 at the most calls in one day, and a lot of days they don't have any, But 3 hours sleep in 48 it just wears them down pretty quick.
There was a formal question on record that Todd asked, I don't know if you got the answer to. To close
nominated Mike.
business.
Yeah, who nominated you, Mike? Floyd?
The SSA had a meeting, okay, and I said, as a concerned citizen, we need an ambulance. So I came here and I sat over there, and I just basically listened to, what's her name? Help me. No, Nick Edelbrick's wife. Lori, saying, I don't know what I'm doing. And I've been here for 6 months, I have no idea. And Jerry was there and Chad was there, okay, those three. And we started talking about the ambulance, and I said, well, we gotta have an ambulance, but we have an opening. Well, I said, I'll volunteer, and you were there, okay? And so I volunteered to come on as a SSA member. And I again was fishing whenever the nomination was brought up, but I was denied, okay? And I think that one of the reasons why was because I was for the ambulance. And I think there was some discussions about, at that time, some critical discussions about, we don't wanna raise our taxes, so if you're gonna raise the taxes, then we're not for you, okay? I'm looking for a solution, that's what I'm doing. I just say, I want an ambulance, and we gotta look at everything to see, and the tax that hasn't been raised since 1983. Okay, basically. And there's another
Really, they were
discussion.
lowered. They
Yeah.
were lowered from 1983.
So I said, somebody needs to look out for a solution, so, you know, I volunteered to do that, and so, again, I was denied. But, Mariah, I said, okay, I'll go fishing, I don't care. I'm just volunteering my time.
And I will.
It was amazing that 2 weeks later, I was fishing again, I fish all the time. And I get a call and says, congratulations, you're on the SSA, and I said, I didn't ask for that. But I was voted back on, okay, so that's how it got started. I came to the first meeting to learn about it, and then he asked me to go on.
Motion adjourned,
Second.
got a second?
Beard?
Yes.
Slade? Lemon? Layton? Kaye?
Yes. Meeting adjourned.